So the lead up to the Nintendo Switch 2 has been very interesting because while Nintendo themselves have not unveiled the system, I guess accessory manufacturers just kind of said, screw it, we're just going to talk about this and showcase it off ourselves before Nintendo even does it. Now, of course, with these sorts of things, you got to take them with a grain of salt. A lot of these originated initially from China with like a silicone cover for the Switch when in handheld mode, a screen protector and stuff like that. And, it was interesting to discuss. But as time has gone on, it hasn't just been a random Chinese company. We've been getting lots and lots of companies like Satisfy making a grip for the Nintendo Switch 2. And D-Brand basically saying, these are the specs of the Nintendo Switch 2. This is the size of the system. This is how it's going to be. And there's additional stuff on this system as well. So yes, it could just all be circumstantial. Yes, it could just all be one big coincidence. Or maybe these companies do actually know the specifications of this system and the size of this system. I tend to believe more so that that's probably the truth, because when you actually look at what these companies are saying the system is going to have, all of the designs are pretty much the same. They're all accounting for different buttons that have been added to the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, one of those buttons was a bit of a mystery, but it seems like we solved it with the D-Brand president. It was a button on the back of the Joy-Con itself, and initially, I wasn't quite sure what that was for, but it seems like that is a release for the Joy-Cons, because now the Joy-Cons are going to be magnetic. And honestly, that makes sense. That makes sense for that button to be there to essentially release the Joy-Cons from their position should you want to take them out to play a game that requires it or play something that has multiplayer. So that mystery button has been discovered, well, at least allegedly speaking, and we have a reason for it existing. But a new mystery button is also now being talked about, and I don't know that anyone knows what this is for, and the theories out there are kind of interesting. So I want to throw around some theories with you guys, some sort of ideas, see if we can crack the case of the mysterious button on the face of the Nintendo Switch 2 system, because when you look at the face of the system, there is a button now right below the home button that has a C on it. So people initially thought, oh, well, that's just like the capture button. It's a C for capture or something like that. So you press that and you can record a screenshot or record video of your Switch when in handheld mode, and it saves onto the system much like it does now. Now, in theory, that's not a terrible idea, but however, when you look at the other side of the Nintendo Switch 2, that capture button that already exists on the standard Nintendo Switch is already there. They didn't remove that button or move that button over onto the second side of things. So this is a brand new button. This is a button that has a function that does something completely different. We also saw this kind of with the plugins for different power supplies. You now have a plug at the top and the bottom of the Switch when in handheld mode. But the C button has a lot of people theorizing what this could actually be and what does it actually do. Now, I don't know that there is a right or wrong answer for this, and I've seen a sort of mindset that has been bubbling up online that I think could potentially be what this button does, but I'm not willing to, completely say that it is. But there is a thought process online of this button being something to do with the fact that you could essentially have your Switch in handheld mode, press this C button, and then use your Switch much like a Wii U gamepad, where it syncs up with the television and then allows you to use the Switch 2 when in handheld mode as a gamepad. Now, I know what you're saying to yourself. Well, the Wii U wasn't very successful, so why would Nintendo kind of be interested in returning to something like that? But I don't necessarily think it would be a return in like a full format or anything like that. More so, just an option. Because a lot of games on the Wii U, if you actually played the Wii U versions of these games, like Batman Arkham City or Xenoblade Chronicles X or Deus Ex Human Revolution Director's Cut, there was lots of cool stuff that you could do with the gamepad by having it as like a map or something like that. Or even beyond that, just having your inventory on that screen and then you use the touch screen. I don't think the idea of the Wii U was necessarily horrible. It was more so the execution and the fact that customers didn't really know what this system was and how it was different from the Wii, and was this just an attachment gamepad for it, or do I have to buy a whole new system, and plus the soft library of games. But beyond that, there's a lot you can do with that sort of setup if that is potentially what this is as an option, because of the fact that there are some systems that people are hopeful will come to Nintendo Switch Online. Of course, those being things like the Nintendo DS and the Nintendo 3DS. Emulation for these systems is very easy and has been around for a very long time. Hell, you could play DS games on the Wii U. You know, people seem to forget that. But there was a litany of DS games that released for the Wii U that you could use the Wii U gamepad as the touchscreen. For games like, Super Mario 64 DS, Metroid Prime Hunters, Phantom Hourglass, games that heavily relied on the touchscreen, you could play those on the Wii U and play these DS and 3DS games, or your DS games, I should say. They didn't do 3DS, but you could play your DS games on your television screen. And it was really cool. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I feel like technology has gotten so much better that we could potentially see Nintendo do some upscaling, much like they do with Nintendo 64 games on Nintendo Switch Online. Once again, this is something that would continue to give value to Nintendo Switch Online, which is something I bring up all the time because it feels like we're kind of getting to a rock and a hard place with how Nintendo handles this sort of stuff. You get it. They don't really want to do GameCube, it seems like. But DS and 3DS have such a litany and a variety of different games, especially third-party games that you could work with different developers on who aren't making any sort of money on these games, since the DS and the 3DS are no longer sold as new copies of games. And I feel like a lot of people would be happy with that, and I would be one of those people. So could that be what this C button does? I don't know. Like, it sounds really good to me. And it almost sounds too good to me, because I didn't hate the Wii U for what it was. I hated the Wii U for what it became and how Nintendo kind of half-assed it for the first couple of years. Third-party developers completely left because Nintendo half-assed it, and sales went completely in the toilet with that system. But I think some of the ideas were actually very interesting, and the Switch is kind of an extension of what the Wii U tried to do and kind of, took it to a next level. But I don't think that the whole system was a bad idea, especially when you look at, stuff like Nintendo DS games that relied on a touchscreen. How are you going to play them in a modern era? Of course, you can emulate them or get one of those, multi-cartridge Nintendo DS things that I've shown off on this channel before, and these are awesome. But what if you want to play it and make it look a little better and get a little extra buck for your Nintendo Switch Online account? What else could it be? I don't really know. I don't really know what a button that has a big C on the front of it would do. Because if you think about it, the Switch record button is a circle. It's not a C. It's not a C for capture footage. It's a circle for record, like a record, signal that you have, the little red circle on there. So I don't really know what this could be. I think it would be cool if this is what it did, and I think a lot of people would be very, very happy with this. Obviously, the DS and the 3DS library would be restricted to the new Switch system, once again, kind of giving people a reason to upgrade to the new system if they want to experience additional stuff. And I don't think people would be mad at that because of the fact that the Switch stayed around too long to begin with. But I just think that this is something. It's obviously something, because there's no way in hell that all these different companies just happen to come up with in their head that this is what the system is going to look like. This is what the system, these are where the buttons are going to be. These are the new buttons. There's new charging ports and stuff like that. Like, I'm sorry. A coincidence is one thing, but when everyone is saying the same sort of thing about it, there's a reason that they are saying this. And one thing I do want to say before we wrap this video up, I don't think this puts any pressure on Nintendo to announce it earlier. I know people think that, but you have to remember that Nintendo doesn't really care. It's kind of messed up to say, but Nintendo really doesn't care about what people online are talking about. That's not their target demographic. Like, their target demographic are people out in the real world, people who don't use social media all the time, who aren't on YouTube all the time, who aren't on Twitter all the time. So I don't think this changes any of their plans. They're probably keeping an eye on it to make sure that nobody goes a little bit too far with showcasing something. But for the most part, I don't think this is even on their radar with it. They have everything lined up to reveal when they want to reveal it and how they want to reveal it. So I don't think this puts any sort of shift or change on anything like that, you know, as far as what their plans are and when they plan on doing it. But what is the mysterious C button? I don't know. I don't know. And that's what I like about it. I love a good mystery. And now I've kind of hyped myself up a little bit to hopefully think that it is something like this. And if it's not, like if it's just like a cookie button, you know, like a cookie pops up on your screen, like, you know, Nintendo would do something stupid like that. Like, you hit the cookie button, and then the cookie pops up on the screen, and then you're like, oh, okay, that's cool, thanks. Could it be creation, like a new me thing? I don't know. I don't know. What do you think the C button entails, though? Let me know in the comments section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. Buy the book for the holiday season. Link in the description box down below. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Look like a beatnik with this long sleeve black shirt, like Flanders' parents. Later.